Hello, thank you for joining. We're going to get started. Um, Today's webinar is Learn How to Get Certified for Electric Vehicle Charger Installations, presented by Cali VIP. My name is Jeff Oyos, and I'm a planner at the Association of Governments. I'll be moderating the first half of this webinar. Andy Hoskinson from the Center for Sustainable Energy will be moderating the second half of the webinar and the question and answer period. We have two presenters for you today, Bernie Kotlier from the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Training Program, and Ryan Bratt, an EVITP electrician. Unfortunately, Matt was not able to join us today, but that'll leave a little bit more extra time at the end for more questions and answers. And Bernie will be going over the EVITP signing up process. Before we jump into things, I want to go over a couple housekeeping items. Participants can submit questions in the chat box at any time during the presentation. Please include your organization name or business name with your question. Due to high traffic, you may experience technical difficulties during this presentation. We apologize for potential delays or compromised presentation quality. If you miss any part of this presentation or have questions, please contact us at calivip@energycenter.org. This presentation will be sent to all attendees on 10/23. So here's today's agenda. I'll go over a SANDAG introduction and give a little bit of a background as to why SANDAG is involved in the rebate process or the rebate program. Then we'll hand it over to Andy Hoskinson to talk about Cali VIP and the certification requirements for EVITP. Then it'll go to Bernie to talk about EVITP training, followed by Ryan talking about permit and installation best practices. And then back to Andy Hoskinson to moderate the question and answer session. All right, so SANDAG develops a regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategy about every 4 years. And in the last plan we developed, we identified a regional charger incentive rebate program or project as a mitigation measure to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from passenger vehicles. As SANDAG developed and looking to stand up a program, we were able to leverage our funds and partner with the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District, as well as the California Energy Commission's Cali VIP program. Together, we're able to leverage our funds and bring about $22 million to the region of incentives. This will help us reach our regional goals as well as state goals for ZEV deployment. In addition to the rebates and incentives available through Cali VIP, SANDAG was interested and funded 3 additional technical assistance services. The first is an EV expert, which provides no-cost technical assistance to those looking to apply to the Cali VIP program, and our focus especially in disadvantaged and low-income communities. The second is part of today's webinar presentation and is focused on workforce development, so we can share best practices and safety considerations around charger installations. And the third is for permit streamlining for local government assistance, or excuse me, the third is permit streamlining assistance for local governments, and this is to help rebates that we expect to see within this region and installations that are associated with those those incentives. So with that, I'll hand it over to Andy. Andy, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jeff. Good afternoon, all. Andy Hoskinson with the Center for Sustainable Energy. I'm going to go through just a brief overview of the California Electric Vehicle Infrastructure, or Cali VIP, as well as some recently enacted requirements for electric vehicle infrastructure training program certification for the installation of electric vehicle chargers. So first, Cali VIP, the California Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Project offers rebates for both the purchase and the installation of level 2 and direct current or DC fast chargers, those DC fast chargers at publicly accessible sites throughout California. Property owners, property managers, and other eligible applicants may qualify for up to $80,000 per DC fast charger, and they could install up to 4 DC fast chargers at a site. As well, they could qualify for up to $7,500 per level 2 charger or connector. And just to note, the rebate totals there do include increased rebates that focus on multi-unit dwellings, apartments and condominiums, for example, and then properties that are located within disadvantaged and or low-income community census tracts. So this is a quick overview. Cali VIP launches regional incentive projects under that Cali VIP umbrella. To date, we have the 6 active projects from Southern California up through Sonoma Coast, with funds available for, in most cases, both level 2 and DC fast charge in each of the regions, within each region. We are just about to launch incentive project next week on Tuesday the 27th in San Diego for the almost $22 million worth of funds to install both DC fast chargers in level 2. And then later this year, excuse me, later this year in mid-December, we'll be launching the Peninsula Silicon Valley project covering the counties of San Mateo and Santa Clara. I will also note that the California Energy Commission recently approved a investment plan that will fund additional Cali VIP projects in 2021. And there's likely to be several, 3 to 4 projects launching in other regions across California in 2021 with funding amounts similar to those you see on the screen here. So recently approved and signed into law was Assembly Bill 841. 841 puts in place requirements for electric vehicle infrastructure training program certification. It affects Public Utilities Code section 740.20, and it essentially states that Public Utilities Commission fund, authorized funds, Energy Commission funds, again, that's what funds the California Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Project, for instance, or state California Air Resources Board funds going toward electric vehicle charging infrastructure and equipment that are located on the customer side of the meter are to be installed by a contractor with the appropriate license, and at least 1 electrician on each crew who holds electric vehicle infrastructure training program certification. With the governor's recent executive order looking to move the sale of new vehicles by 2035 to a zero emission, 100% zero emission, this will become even more important in the ensuing years. Specifically, the requirements that have been codified require that for any work that's performed after January 1st, 2022, that comes from any sort of funding decision those aforementioned agencies make on January 1st, 2021, that requirement will be in place. Again, at least 1 electrician on each crew must hold the EVITP certification. In addition to that, installations with a single port that supplies 25 kilowatts or more, at least 25% of the electricians on the crew would need to hold EVITP certification. And there's no distinction on that port being AC or DC. So your higher power level, AC chargers could also trigger that requirement, just as pretty much all of your DC fast chargers would trigger it. Additionally, the work has started under this and needs to be concluded by May 1st, 2021, where the Energy Commission is evaluating the EVITP curriculum, which you'll hear about a little later from one of the presenters, to see if there's any elements of that could be supplemented. To do this, they'll hold at least 2 public workshops as part of that evaluation process. And I do want to note for our audience that EVITP training does qualify as part of the 32 hours of further electrical education that a California certified electrician is required to complete every 3 years. As this was just a very brief overview of Cali VIP and some of the incentive projects that are already out there and those that are coming, we encourage you to reach out via the contact information on the screen. Again, this presentation will be distributed with these links in there, or the phone number that's listed here with any questions you've got about the project in general or specific. Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and turn this over to Bernie at this time.
Well, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Jeff. And I want to thank all the organizations who are sponsoring and hosting this webinar. Of course, Cali EVITP, the Energy Commission, SANDAG, and the Center for Sustainable Energy. Thank you all. We're going to talk about EVITP today. EVITP is in its 4th generation of curriculum, 4.0. So what is EVITP, the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Training Program? Where does it come from? Well, it is a volunteer-based, nonprofit, national EV industry collaborative that is brand neutral, doesn't endorse or promote any brands. And it is a training program that addresses the technical requirements, the performance, safety of electric vehicle infrastructure, charging infrastructure. And it has, that collaborative is representative of a lot of different stakeholders in the industry, and you see a list here. We're going to go to the next slide, so maybe you can see it more graphically. And the logos of the various organizations. You see automakers and EVSE, which is electric vehicle supply equipment or charging station manufacturers. You see utilities, contractors, all different types of stakeholders have been involved in putting together EVITP for the benefit of the industry. This group represents partner advisors. They are not members. They do not pay any fees or membership dues, but they have contributed a lot of very valuable technical information and other assistance on curriculum and helping to improve and advance the training program. So who's eligible to become an EVITP certified electrician? The minimum requirement in California is that the applicant be a California state certified general electrician. And of course, that means that that electrician has had to complete at least 8,000 hours of on-the-job training and has had to pass the state exam. One of the reasons why EVITP is so effective is because we're building on a foundation of that knowledge and experience of being an electrician. So we're adding on to that, and we're not starting from a basic level. So some information about the course. It's around 20 hours. It could vary a little bit. Could be 18, could be up to 24, depending on how well the class moves through the material. The curriculum is provided free to state accredited institutions, although now most of the training is going online, and you'll hear more about that later, but that's at evitp.org. EVITP is, as we said, a nonprofit. Of the total fee, of the total class fee of $275, about $75 of that goes to EVITP, which is for materials, record keeping, the website, and issuing the certification documents. The rest of the fee goes to the facilitators, the instructors, the proctors, and whatever sites may be hosting the training or the exam. EVITP is also taught in Canada, and the national main office is in a suburb of Detroit, in Royal Oak, Michigan. This is the website address, and you might want to take a look at that later, particularly to find information about the class schedule, which we'll talk about in a moment. Next. And this is what that looks like. So if you do want to find information about training, or you do want to sign up for a EVITP class, you would go to that site, evitp.org, then click on the upper right on training, and then scroll down to the bottom where it says, please visit this link in California, the last line. Click on that, and then you'll see the next screen. And next slide, please. Yeah, and what you'll see on the next screen is you'll see the next training. And here's the schedule for the next training. It is beginning on January the 4th. And all of those days are required to complete it, and a final in-person exam. And if you do want to sign up for that class, just go to the website and you'll see a form to submit your information and go through the process of getting signed up. So some other facets of the website are find a contractor. Talk about that for a moment. So you click on that button in the upper right, and then click on California, and what you'll see is on the next slide. And there you will see, we're missing a little bit on the bottom. Unfortunately, I don't know if we can move that up, but at the bottom, what it says is 75 electrical contractors that are listed. As of today, there are 78 electrical contractors on the website. You will not see the 1,600 electricians on the website because customers do not contract with electricians, they contract with contractors. So you'll actually see the businesses, the companies that employ the electricians. And there's a complete list of them, all of the ones who are approved, EVITP approved. So contractors are approved, electricians are certified. There's a difference. And you'll also see the map. And you'll notice there's some white space between those different flags. But in reality, the whole state is pretty well covered because many of those companies cover large parts of the state or all the state. Those flags represent their home offices or their branch offices, but the coverage is very comprehensive. So how does a contractor become EVITP approved? Well, first of all, they have to be a California C10 electrical contractor and in good standing with the Contractor State Licensing Board. Then they need to have some of their electricians certified. They have to employ electricians who are EVITP certified and have them available to work. Then once they do that, they need to complete and sign a 3-page agreement, which there's a number of things in the agreement, but the main provisions are that they agree to use EVITP certified electricians on the job, and that they also list their EVITP certified electricians on that application. When they're ready, a contractor's ready, they can request the agreement by using the Contact Us feature at evitp.org. And once they're approved, they return their application, signed application, and everything's approved. They will be added to the EVITP website that you just saw under approved contractors. So why should electricians take EVITP and get certified? Well, you see safety is represented there 3 times and repeated again at the bottom. Really, EVITP is first and foremost about safety, but there are other benefits, certainly performance and reliability, and risk reduction, first and foremost, again, for people, and then for property and all, but also for governments and financial institutions and insurance companies and others who are concerned about making sure everybody is kept safe. So this is just a partial list of some of the entities, some of the agencies and cities and towns that are requiring EVITP already. There are more, but just to give you an idea, it's in the safety language of the Public Utilities Commission. The Port of Long Beach requires it on a grant from the Energy Commission. In Nevada, the electric highway is being built by the charging stations on the electric highway are being installed by EVITP certified electricians. In Ohio, Columbus won the National Smart Cities Award. And you see some other cities here in California, and you've already heard from Andy about AB 841. EVITP is also featured in a couple of guides from the Department of Energy, Clean Cities. This one is the Electrical Contractors Guide. And next slide, you'll see some of the information there. And EVITP is the only training program that's featured in the DOE guide. The next guide is for public, next slide, for public charging station hosts. And same situation here, EVITP is featured, and it is the only training program that is in the DOE Clean Cities Guide. There it is. So this is a picture that is very dramatic, and some people wonder why we're being so dramatic here. But unfortunately, there's a need to emphasize safety and the relationship between EV charging and sometimes, unfortunately, with fires. So when an EV is charging, there are substantial loads put on the existing electrical system. And as we all know, I think, batteries are getting bigger, ranges are getting longer in EVs, so that those loads are continuing to increase. And what happens when those loads are greater than the capacity of the existing electrical system, it can overheat wiring or other components. And then unfortunately we see things like this. And then the next slide, you'll see how that can turn into a fire. And these are real serious concerns that EVITP focuses on. Here you see some photographs that we received from utilities of, once again, components that were overheated by loads that were too great for the system, either the spec of the system or the condition of the system. This is another unfortunate slide. It was an actual fire. This one occurred back in 2011 when the Chevy Volt first came out. That vehicle, sort of yellowish color in the foreground of the garage, is a Chevy Volt 2011. The headlines were that the Volt caused the fire, or it started in the Volt. It did not start in the Volt. It started, the fire marshal's report said it started in the wiring in the walls. But the Volt was implicated because it was the additional charging load that was put on that existing infrastructure that did cause the fire. So how do we avoid those fires? Well, the main way we can avoid them is not just to rely on circuit breakers and other safety equipment, which does not always work. The main way you can avoid those fires is to be certain that we don't overload the circuits in the first place. And we do that with one of the core parts of the curriculum, and Ryan's going to talk about that in more detail. But it's called site assessment and load calculations, and it does involve a lot of calculations. This page is just the formulas for calculating conductor size or wiring size, and there's about a half a dozen pages of formulas that the electricians either learn or brush up on so they can do these calculations for load very effectively and make sure that that facility does not get overloaded. Electrical system is capable of handling those additional loads that the EVs are going to bring. Okay, well, this is where I turn it over to Ryan, and he's going to provide you more detail. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernie. Hello, my name is Ryan Brott. I chair the Curriculum Development Committee for EVITP. I've had the pleasure to work in the development of this curriculum since 2010, both here in the US and in Canada. Thank you for asking me to participate in this webinar today. EVITP includes 7 modules covering everything from electric vehicle technology to troubleshooting a failed charger. Included throughout the curriculum are building codes, federal regulations, and industry-recognized best practices. These include the National Electrical Code, American with Disabilities Act, and NECA 413, Standards for the Installation of EVSE, just to name a few. The important thing to remember when it comes to permitting and inspection of the installation of electrical equipment is requirements vary by location. The specific requirements for any location are determined and enforced by the authority having jurisdiction. Generally, this is a city, county, or state, depending on where you live in the US. EVITP is a national curriculum and includes the before-mentioned codes. However, it does not cover all of the nuanced requirements across the US and Canada. In fact, EVITP in the curriculum reminds the learner to always refer to all local codes and requirements of the authority having jurisdiction. I should mention that typically local codes and standards are mentioned and discussed by course instructors at the local level. EVITP is a comprehensive curriculum, as Bernie mentioned, including level 1 and 2 AC charging, DC fast charging, and the up-and-coming wireless charging. Medium and heavy-duty electric vehicles and their associated charging equipment are also covered. As Bernie mentioned, site assessment, troubleshooting, and maintenance are also a part of the EVITP curriculum. I should mention at this time as well, to kind of back up what Bernie had said earlier, this curriculum involves in-depth calculations of voltage drop, service load, and conductor sizing are included throughout the material. This course is no cakewalk. Electricians who complete their apprenticeship long ago, or maybe even not that long ago, will certainly need to refresh on these concepts and equations to pass the certification exam. Be prepared to put in some late nights studying for the 2-hour rigorous exam, which does include load calculations for both residential and commercial structures. In the next 4 slides, I'm going to walk you through the EVITP course syllabus. Module 1 begins with the cars. We get an introduction to electric vehicles, their history, different types and technologies, from the original hybrid Priuses that were in the market way back when to today's Teslas and other vehicles that are on the road. We'll look at modern EVs and what the future of the EV industry looks like. And as mentioned before, heavy electric vehicles will also be included, or also are included. Module 2, electric vehicle supply equipment. Here's where we get into the charging stations. What is EVSE and the different types? AC, EVSE, DC charging, wireless charging, and then we finally wrap up Module 2 with EVSE communication and network. Module 3 covers codes and standards required for the safe installation of electric vehicle supply equipment. Here we're going to look at the National Electrical Code, all the associated chapters that are important to the installation, as well as NECA 413, the standards for EVSE installation. And Module 4 covers load calculations for the proper sizing of conductors supplying electric vehicle supply equipment. By properly sizing the conductors, we can avoid those fires that Bernie spoke to. In Module 4, we're going to look at planning and installing EVSE, load considerations, ampacity, including conductor, temperature ratings, and overcurrent protection devices, branch circuits, feeders, and service calculations, voltage drop calculations, and we'll wrap up Module 4 with a series of examples. Module 5 covers site assessment for the installation of electric vehicle supply equipment. We're going to talk about customer service, considerations, and taking that facility tour to meet and greet the owner. We're going to look at the EVSE market drivers. What is incentivizing the installation of this equipment? We're going to look at locating, signage, specific signage requirements, ADA, accessibility concerns, proper installation, and we're going to wrap it all up with a case study called the Shawbells Hardware Case Study. Module 6 covers commissioning of systems to verify safe and consistent operations. We're going to start off with why is commissioning important? Documentation and the handoff to the owner, municipality and utility considerations, equipment and cord management, and finally EVSE communication and networking, customer interface. And finally, Module 7 covers troubleshooting of electric vehicle supply equipment, because sometimes this equipment just stops working properly. Some common EVSE failure points are going to be looked at. We'll look at troubleshooting examples from all over the country. Wrap up with troubleshooting tips and use of EV simulators. At the end, as I mentioned earlier, the comprehensive proctored exam is included. In closing, I just wanted to add some more details on the types of electric vehicles covered in the curriculum. Light-duty vehicles have been the focus of vehicle electrification in the past. Today, with improving battery technology, medium-duty and heavy-duty vehicles are available in the marketplace. EVITP version 4.0 covers both examples of these heavy-duty and medium-duty vehicles and its associated charging equipment. A lot of opportunity coming down the pike in this area. Here you can see some different examples of the different vehicles, heavy-duty, medium heavy-duty vehicles that are currently available. Here we see examples of a delivery van, a bus, and a dump truck. In fact, that Frito-Lay delivery vehicle seen there has become a common sight on the streets of Seattle where I live. Wrapping it up with some of the newer technology here and inductive charging. Here you kind of see what we're looking at as the future. Electrified transportation, and you're seeing these in California as well. We're seeing here around Washington State, and inductive charging is a part of that. I'm going to hand this over to, I believe, Andy or Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. So I think we're going to go ahead and move into a question and answer section. We have just under 25 minutes, I think, left that's scheduled for those questions. Again, as a reminder, you can, we'd like to have you submit your question. You can do so through the chat box. You can target it as send a question to staff. So please go ahead and take an opportunity to submit any of the questions that you come up with for any of the panelists and moderators that have presented today. We will go ahead and jump in. I'm going to open that, and it looks like we've got a couple of questions that have come in so far, and I guess just to, before we go to those, a reminder here, the webinar presentation itself is going to be emailed out on the 23rd, so that's tomorrow. And then a webinar recording of this will also be emailed, but that'll be just in a little over a week and a half on the 2nd of November. And then linked here again is the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Training Program, or EVITP.org website, where you can go to reference that schedule of upcoming training that Bernie shared, download and fill out the form for applying for that. So with that, we'll go ahead and transition to the questions. So the first question comes in from JD Toffland, and I apologize if I've misspoken your name, JD. The question is, are qualifiers for C10 licenses qualify for EVITP certification? And there's a reference to Bryson Infinity Energy, which I believe is the organization there. So I believe this is a question, Bernie, that I would direct to you. Again, the question is, are qualifiers for C10 licenses qualifying for EVITP certification?
Okay, so the answer to that is that if a individual holds a current C10 license in good standing, and that individual also does the work in the field with hands-on electrical work in the field, yes, they can be eligible to take the course. Hahowever, if the C10 license holder is primarily an administrator and a business person who manages the business and does not actually do the work in the field, the hands-on work, then the answer is no.
Thank you, Bernie. And if you have any follow-up on that, JD, please feel free to submit a follow-up question. The next question comes in from Jan Perba, and that question is, I believe, to you also, Bernie. It is, what is the cost of getting certified and maintaining certifications? And then a second part to that is, and is there a limit of the number of certified contractors and electricians?
Well, I'll take the last one first. There's no limit to the number. It's an open program, and everyone who qualifies, who's eligible and takes the training and passes will be certified as an electrician. And the same with the contractors. Everyone who meets the contractor requirements will be added. So there's no limit. As far as cost, we talked about the cost in the presentation. The total cost of the course online right now is $275, and it includes the $75 that goes to EVITP to maintain the records and the administration and the website and all those things.
Thank you, Bernie. We have another question that is on the curriculum specifically. So this will come to you, Ryan. This is from Keith Beckstead. The question is J3068 type EVSE covered in the training?
Yes. Who was the question from? I'm sorry.
Keith Beckstead.
Oh, hi, Keith. Great question. Yes, that is covered in the curriculum. Thanks for asking.
Great. And the next question comes in from Kristen Larson. It's actually about the trainer's qualifications, and I don't know if, Ryan, this is better for you to respond to, or Bernie, but the question is, what are the qualifications of EVITP trainers? Are they also certified electricians?
Yeah, I'll take that. Yes, they're certified electricians. They are instructors that have a considerable experience and who go through the EVITP certified instructor process. So yes, they meet a lot of requirements. I hope that answers the question.
I believe it does. Okay. Let's see. We just saw another question come in. This one is from Spiro Eskel. And this question is to Bernie. It's more programmatic. Why is a C10 required to take this when they pass the state license exam?
The C10 is not required to take any EVITP training. Just to be clear, there are two categories. There is the C10, who is the electrical contractor, may be approved. And as I mentioned in the presentation, they just have to have some California State Certified General Electricians in their employ who have passed the test and become EVITP certified electricians. The contractor, the C10 contractor, can then just fill out a simple 3-page form, and if they meet the requirements, they will be listed. So the contractor, the license holder of the C10, does not have to take any training, unless, as we said earlier, that they are generally in a small firm and they are both the business person and they're doing the electrical work in the field and they want to get EVITP certified. Then they would have to take the class. But otherwise, the contractor, as a manager and a business person, would not.
Okay, thank you, Bernie. So I'm looking at the question box. I don't see any of the others that have come in yet. We do have a little time left, so I want to continue to keep it open to attendees to ask any questions that you may have. Again, you can do so by going to the chat feature, and then in the box where you select who to send it to, sending a question to staff will allow you to submit an additional question. We'll go ahead and give a few moments in case anyone has follow-up questions or new questions. Okay, as we're waiting for that, again, I just want to remind everyone that with some of the state law changes in California and the recent governor's executive order to transition the both focus on light duty and medium heavy duty towards zero emission vehicles in the ensuing years. We expect considerable growth in the need for installation of electric vehicle charging, and any of that is funded in part by their Public Utility Commission, California Energy Commission, or California Air Resources Board funds would require EVITP certified electricians. So we strongly encourage you to go visit evitp.org. And if the timing works out for you, to sign up for the upcoming winter training session starting in early January. Didn't see any other questions. I'll go ahead and offer this to the panelists, Bernie or Ryan. Are there any additional closing remarks that you'd like to make?
Well, Andy, I did receive a question by email, and I might as well address it for the benefit of the whole audience. The question was from Emily. I want to thank her for it. And the question was, if somebody if an electrician has taken the course and passed and becomes EVITP certified, are they added to the database, and does that database go online? And so I think that's a really good question, because there may be a little confusion that we could clear up. So when an electrician takes the course and passes and becomes EVITP certified, they are added to a database that is maintained in the national office in Royal Oak, Michigan, and that's the database of certified electricians. That is not what is listed on the website. What's listed on the website is the database of contractors who are EVITP approved, and that's different. And of course, to get that approval, they have to go through the steps we just outlined. So there are two different databases. And Emily, I'll follow up with Emily in writing as well. But I thought that was a good question that others may be, if not thinking about now, may come to them later.
Yes, thank you, Bernie. Okay, well, I haven't seen any additional questions come in on the webinar. I want to thank everybody for attending, and again, just remind everyone we'll send out this presentation with all of the links included tomorrow, so please watch for that. And again, please visit the EVITP website for more information on pursuing a certification. And please visit the Cali VIP website if you're interested in more information on the California Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Project and the soon to open San Diego County Incentive Project. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you, everyone.